Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy, and we're going to throw in the end some glute magic today. I've got in the house,
some glute magic.
And I've got glute magic. Well, do you want me to say Biog Glu method, because that's what we're going to talk about?
We can talk about that.
We are going to talk about that.
Yep.
I'm going to just first introduce Dr. Mack is here, and you've got a new little program to talk about. But sitting next to you is Muscle Mania Fitness Model World Champ 2013. So he might have played in that area a little bit himself at some stage. And our in-house dietitian and coach, and Mark, thanks for coming and joining us. I'm excited that Mac's in the house, and you're doing some cool shit in the fitness industry. Like jump on last week's podcast. We talk about what he's doing in US sport. That was a great journey into.
It was a long, winding road.
It was,
Gregory.
but mate, it was entertaining.
So for anyone who listened to all of it, I apologise, but thank you.
But you're doing some really cool stuff, and you've wrapped an app around it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So there's probably two things that are happening. One is very much fitness industry orientated. The other is more professional sport. So I can kind of unpack both of those.
This is your anthropometry stuff.
Yeah, anthropometry
did I say that right?
So
hey, try and say that word. Say it, Mark.
Anthropometric.
Yeah.
Closer than yours.
Mine was terrible.
I can unpack that. So the Biog Glu stuff is the health and fitness orientated project that I've been working on, developed an app. So it all came about. So Mark will know this, as would anyone who's watching this from a fitness industry perspective. Competitive physique, girls predominantly, right? Bikini, fitness, figure, wellness, those kind of groups. So I got an active interest in that industry and had a long-standing relationships with a lot of people in that industry. And so it all came about. I was looking at some social media stuff, and there was a whole bunch of girls on there having this conversation around, do deadlifts make you thick through your midsection, right? And so I'm looking at these girls who have tiny little pelvises, and they're saying, no, I can deadlift all day and I don't get thick, so it's all nonsense, right? Well, it's not nonsense. And so I kind of pondered that for a minute or two, and I thought, you know what?
You love a little bit of Instagram knowledge, though, don't you? It's one of your favourite places to research.
Yeah. I've got to tell you, man. I'm a sort of a passive observer more than an active participant. I look at stuff. I mean, we all look at stuff on social media, and you just shake your head, right? Yeah. It's just, most of it's garbage, and so
you're talking on a comparative scale between PubMed and Instagram.
Yeah. I think one of it's a medium that enables people to put out their thoughts and their opinions and that sort of thing. And I get it. But I mean, I operate in a world of a little bit more substantiated evidence. Yeah. And so from a fitness industry perspective, lots of girls want to build their glutes, right? Yep. The good story is that every girl can build their glutes, right? But how they get to their end goal with glute development is remarkably different depending on your structure. Yep. Right. So I thought about that, because if you look at certain demographics of athletes who do a lot of deadlifting, so you look at CrossFitters, right? World-class CrossFitters are pretty thick through their midsection, right? And I'm talking obliques. I'm not talking rectus or transverse. I'm talking more sort of oblique. And so I looked at that, and I wrote a book on glute training, and I developed a masterclass on training glutes for different types of glutes. And so not new, but there are a pretty well-known 5 or 6 different types of glutes. By that I mean, some girls have quite a bubble shaped bottom. Others have a wide at the top and narrow at the bottom, wide at the bottom, narrow at the top. So there's a whole bunch of different shapes, for want of a better term. And so all of that is determined by their pelvis fundamentally and their femur, and the orientation of their femur and their greater trochanter in relation to their pelvis. So, and if you think about the mechanics of it, and this is kind of anthropometry, but that's a different one I'll get to in a minute. But so I looked at that and I've gone, okay, so there are 7 variables of pelvic structure, a lumbopelvic disc structure as well. There are 7 pelvic characteristics that determine whether a girl, when she deadlifts and squats, whether she loads glute or quadratus lumborum or oblique or, longissimus thoracis or any of those muscles in the lumbar spine that will make you thick through your lower back and into your torso.
I'm going to be so busy on Google later.
Yeah. Wow, well, you won't have to, man, because you can just get the app. So I came up with the Biog Glute method. I teamed up. So the other thing was this, I'm a middle-aged male. talking about glutes. And there are some people, Brett Contreras is in the space and the glute guru, I think it is, they've forged careers in glute development.
Yep.
And so, which is fantastic. However, they have a different approach to me. I go very much from a skeletal structure perspective. So I'm literally talking about the width of a pelvis, the anterior tilt of a pelvis, the breadth of a pelvis, the orientation of the neck of the femur to the greater trochanter, things like that will determine, even whether a girl has those dips and divots on the sides of her glutes.
Yep.
And so then how she wants to load. So for example, it's, cutting it down to its basic principles. Some girls have a really flat bum.
Yep.
And they've got no lumbar lordosis. They've got a pretty flat lumbar spine. They have a posteriorly rotated pelvis. They have a low or no sacral angle. So the sacrum comes out of the ilium and forms the sacroiliac joint.
Yep.
So it comes out on an angle to the tailbone. So some girls have a really pronounced one, others are flat, and then their greater trochanters are quite wide and they're on an angle that is kind of almost 90 degrees to their pelvis, right? So those girls should never deadlift a day in their life, right? Because they will preload their obliques, their quadratus lumborum, and their paraspinal. So the paraspinals, I'm talking about mainly longissimus thoracis. It doesn't matter, but the lower back muscles, right? As opposed to a girl who is blessed, and you can't do anything about this because this is just skeletal structure. So you can thank your mum and dad. Large lumbar lordosis, anteriorly rotated pelvis, large sacral angle, small iliums, small greater trochanter angles. They can deadlift all day and it'll go straight on their bum.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And that's the simplicity of the Biog Glute. So I took that philosophy and basically developed this workshop and was having a conversation with a great friend of mine, Laura McKenzie, who I've teamed up with. Laura's a professional, she's a fitness competitor.
Yep.
Working with her around the development of her glutes. And so we've teamed up together and created Horyzen Active and the Biog Glute method. So there's an app that'll drop and basically it enables women to identify what kind of glute structure they have based on like looking at some examples that we have on the app.
Yep.
And they go, okay, well, we got 6 different types of glutes on there. So they go, okay, well, I'm a type 1 and I'm a beginner. These are the exercises. This is the type of program I should do. So then it's a subscription model type of thing.
Oh, so no fucking around the gym, guaranteed result.
You won't waste time doing the wrong thing.
Yep.
And so classically...
Sorry, Mark, did I package that up a little simply, did I? Sorry.
No, I mean...
You can be more efficient in your training and actually be more specific in what's going to create results. And in the fitness industry, just from that side of things, when the girls turn around, it's often the backsides where the judges will make their final decision.
For sure.
So this will blow up now, having this app.
Yeah, well, hopefully. Yeah, hopefully.
So is the app for the individual, mate, or for the coaches to use?
It's for ideally it's for girls who don't have a coach.
Yeah, okay.
So we have a beginner level,
Yep.
which is a complete novice. This is someone who has very little experience, doesn't really know what they want to do. And then we have intermediate, girls who've been training maybe a couple of years, into advanced, and then into full professional level. So
is it one app or is that 4 different apps?
No, it's one app.
One app, okay.
It's one app. And so that enables effectively choose your adventure.
Yep.
Right. And they can come in. There is a coaching element to it. So if someone wants, to work with me directly or work with Laura directly, they can do that. Or if they're not sure.
So this isn't a $5 a week app, obviously?
No, it's not a $5 a week app.
Cool, yeah.
So if you want to work with me, it's not $5 a week.
No, so I was just thinking.
No.
I was thinking, yeah.
It's
at least $7.50.
It's at least $7.95.
Yeah. So how's it work?
So exactly that way. So there is the option to choose a coaching option.
Yep.
There's a nutrition piece to it as well. So, people can come on and, there's a bunch of apps around nutrition from, MyFitnessPal, and there's a bunch of them, right?
Yep.
And so one of the limitations of those is that they don't necessarily bring together the nutrition piece, the training piece, and the individualization piece. I'm all about the individualization piece. And so that's where you'll see a lot of, and good on them, high profile Instagram people who sell their programs and they say, I want to do Mark's program. Well, my view is that program's for Mark.
Yep.
There's no good me training like Mark or you training like Mark. And so I think for beginners, they could, a true beginner who just wants to learn their way around the gym and wants to know what a hip thrust is or whatever, then I think, okay, that's cool. You can buy anybody's program, have a look at that, be confident and familiar. And that true beginners will grow from doing anything, really.
Yep.
And so it's the other thing with the glutes, and we've done a podcast on this, glutes. So you got glute medius at the top, which is that upper shelf, right? And then you've got glute max, and there's actually two fibre arrangements of glute max. And some are quite obliquely orientated, others are more sort of parallel and vertical. But anyway, all of the cadaver, the dead body studies done on humans, identifies that the glutes are about 50% fast twitch and slow twitch, right? So if you want to grow glutes, you can do high volume work, so all the band work and all that sort of stuff, and you can train real heavy. So if you want to recruit type 2 fibers, you got to lift heavy.
Yep.
But you can still grow from doing high volume work and do 20 reps of fire hydrants with a band. So with a beginner, you can your room for error is huge. You can grow doing anything.
Yep.
And so that's effectively what we do is we start with, fundamental principles of training and exercise selection. So, I haven't got them doing a single leg Brozov into some sort of Romanian deadlift and then doing a backflip. It's not that sort of complicated. It's about, what are the best bang for the bucks in terms of exercises. And might go from doing, 2 sessions a week and you build that up, 3 sessions, 4 sessions, whatever it might be. So they come in the app, they effectively identify what type of glute they've got, or they can get us to do that.
To identify that. Yep.
And then based on that, it's okay. Well, I'm a beginner, I'm an advanced, I'm a whatever. The programs are updated every 2 weeks. They're all in 12-week blocks.
Yep.
And there's 4 blocks in a year, so it's 4 phases per year, sort of thing. And it's all structured along those lines. And the nutrition piece is part of it as well, so they can be provided with a nutrition plan off the back of that. And again, I'll let you get a word in a minute, man. But I think the world accepts that if you want to lose fat, you got to be calorically depleted, right? Or deficit is the word. So how much of a deficit? Well, we know a kilo of fat's about 7,500 calories or whatever it might be. If I take 500 calories a day out of my diet, I'm going to drop half a kilo a week, whatever, right?
Yep.
So, but I see these girls, and this is a glute orientated app. There is application for men as well.
Yep.
So guys that want to get big or there's a hypertrophy component, like if guys want to lose body fat and get leaned up, those 2 options are there. But I see a lot of girls, they're doing these dirty bulks. I just want to, I don't get it, right? You have to be in a caloric surplus, but all you're doing is getting fat, girls. Seriously. And you're just making it harder to get lean next time you're on stage.
Yep.
So, how much of a caloric surplus? It's actually as little as 200 calories.
Wow.
And you grow, right? So you get, so you don't have to be a girl who's competing as a bikini competitor eating 6,000 calories a day, because I'm sorry, but you're just going to get fat.
Yeah.
And it's not going to accelerate your muscle mass development, none of that. So we work on, again, evidence-based practice.
Evidence-based science, yeah.
Legit evidence-based.
Yeah, okay.
Because a lot of people say they're evidence-based, and there's lots of different types of evidence.
Oh, it's easy to type. Yep.
Yeah, it's easy to spell. Anyway, that's the fitness industry piece of what's happening with Horyzen Active.
So I need to slow this down a little bit, mate.
Yes.
Everyone's now going, how the fuck do I find this?
Yes.
Where is it?
Well, it's nowhere. Yeah, it's going to launch in August.
August, yep.
So watch this space.
Yep.
No, what are we in August?
Yeah.
It's launching next month.
Yep.
Yeah. So
September for anyone who's listening.
what did I just say?
August,
September.
Next month, yeah.
Next month.
And it's Horyzen, Horyzen.
Zen.
Zen.
Horyzen Active.
Well, I spelled it incorrectly so you could improve it so people know don't spell it incorrect because they won't find your app.
No, it's an E, not an O.
Yeah, exactly.
Horyzen.
And is active part of the word they're typing as well?
Horyzen Active.
Yep.
And there's horyzenactive.com
Yep.
is the website, which has got all the information on there around what it is, how it works, and how you can engage with the app and download that and do all that sort of stuff.
Mate, congrats on that.
Yeah, man. It's been...
You enjoyed it?
It's taken... Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not that technically savvy. Laura's the tech savvy person. She's sort of got it sorted. But
tell us a bit about Laura. What's her background?
So we'll have to get her on sometime.
Yeah.
Next time I'm in Australia, maybe. But yeah, comes from a science background.
Yep.
Competed a professional in one of the federations. I don't know if I should nominate which one because she just left. Aspires to be a multi-federation professional.
Yep.
So is moving across to one of the other federations. And so through mutual friends, basically I was looking for someone to team up with on this project. She's got a great brand. Trains hard.
Yep.
She's a weapon, 5'3".
Authentic.
Very authentic.
That's a big thing for you, isn't it? Yeah,
man. I was looking for someone who could really align with the concept and bring something to the table. And so her area of particular interest is the nutrition piece. And so she's been leading the way on that as well. So she's a bit more tech savvy than me. So I kind of just frustrate the crap out of everybody because I forget passwords and I'm not very good at that stuff. But my skills are in other areas. So man, it'll launch hopefully make a bit of noise about it when it launches next month and get it cracking.
Yeah, nice. Congratulations, mate.
Thanks, man. So that's that one. And then the other anthropometric stuff.
Yes.
Which
I wish I could say that word.
Yeah, so the
I'm going to practice it when we finish.
Yeah, so it's similar.
I got nothing, sorry.
Yeah, it's similar in terms of it relies on. So this is Horyzen Performance.
And you've been doing this in the States.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So the Horyzen Performance group is based in the US.
Yep.
And basically, I mean, this is a long story as well, but it all came about looking at, we're talking to Mark offline about this. So I've always had a theory around making players too big, too quick.
Yep.
Right. And so you take some football codes or whatever, and they want to make them bigger, leaner, faster, stronger, meaner, bad, or whatever. Right.
Yep.
But the cost of that is injury, musculoskeletal injury, and hamstrings particularly, right, in running sports. And so, I've looked and had this experience myself in the NRL and AFL where it's easy to make guys bigger. That's not hard, right? But you get to a point where, and there'll be some high-profile guys that the listeners would be aware of that have had chronic hamstring injuries for years. They can end your career, hamstring injuries. And so I've always thought, this kid's too big for his skeleton, basically. Mm-hmm. And so through a long winding road and collaboration with Aaron Wellman, Aaron is probably one of the best and most knowledgeable strength and conditioning coaches that I've worked with, period.
Yeah, okay.
And he was one of the guys I met when I did the presentation in Indianapolis at the Combine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he was working with the New York Giants at the time, and we had some discussions around some of the players on his roster who just had super big pelvises and big ankles and big knees. And these guys were unbreakable. Right?
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm really simplifying this, but effectively what we did, it was looked at anthropometric characteristics. So when you're looking at body composition, skin folds is a really common way of determining body fat. Okay. Yep. And DEXA and things like that. And so, but then there is a thing called anthropometry, which is effectively the measurement of the skeleton. And so we came up with 28 measures that includes 7 skin folds. There's 20 other. So by measures, I mean, biacromial, biiliocostali, wrist circumference, elbow circumference, like femur length, things like that, pelvis width, that will determine the size of your skeleton. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so then we've got a vast data set of athletes across Olympic sports, professional sports for decades that have given us the characteristics of what is called the muscle bone ratio. So we know, for example, and it's determined based on ethnicity and gender. So we can say, okay, so whatever, a Caucasian male athlete has a muscle carrying capacity of about ballpark 5.2 to 5.8 kilos of muscle mass per kilo of bone, right? And so we do it in pounds in the US. But so a big skeleton, believe it or not, only weighs about 15 kilos.
Wow. Okay.
That's a big skeleton, right? But if you look at it, so from the muscle perspective, 5 kilos of muscle for every kilo of bone, 5 times 15 is 75 kilos of muscle. Yep. That's a ton of muscle, right? And if you add on a skeleton and then you got the viscera and everything else, it becomes a big human pretty quickly, right? Yep. So it varies. And then some people have smaller skeletons and whatever, but the ratio remains the same. So it's dependent on the size of your skeleton, and the ratios all correlate with that. And so what we've seen is that if we put on too much muscle too quick over this muscle bone ratio, their risk profile for soft tissue injury just skyrockets. So if I take, like me, for example, if I've got a ceiling, so I'm too heavy for my skeleton, but I don't have to run. So it's all right. So I'm a 6.2 kilos of muscle per kilo of bone. So and that's why if I try to run down the stairs, I'll tear my hamstring and probably fall down the stairs, right? But that's okay. But if it's someone who needs to run, I don't want to do that, right? And so so a coach will say to me, okay, Mac, I've got 2 players. They're both 6'4". They both weigh 100 kilos. They play the same position. They're the same age. They're about the same talent level. Can I put 5 kilos on both of them? And so I might we'll measure them up and we'll go, okay, so player A, he is all of those characteristics and he's already at 5.8 in his muscle bone ratio, right? He's at his ceiling. I throw 5 kilos on him, he's going to tear everything, right? But this other guy, he's only at 5.2. So his window of opportunity to develop muscle mass, he can probably carry 6 kilos of muscle on that frame and be no increased injury risk.
Are you the only guys in the world doing this?
Correct.
So is every NHL, NFL NFL team in the world running at you right now?
Not every one of them, but so we've measured up about 8 NFL teams now. So I'm in the NHL, man. I'm not doing it for NHL teams. I'm doing it for my team.
Your team.
Yeah, we're doing it.
Want to shout out to the team?
Florida Panthers.
Yeah.
Yep. And then some NBA teams and some baseball teams.
Wow.
And some college football teams.
Hi, I'm Tom Green, Olympic champ from Tokyo. And if you want the best tasting protein bars on the market, you should try the new Body Science Moose range. Greg, you better be testing these.
Mate, they're getting drug tested. Got you covered. You're doing some cool shit in the US. Great to see an Aussie brand doing that too, mate.
Yeah, man. So it's good. So the other thing, there's a lot to unpack there. But so where it becomes really interesting is that we got 2 other measures that really matter, because I'm interested in, the performance characteristics of that. So we look at, the old Adonis ratio. So it's the ratio of your shoulders to your pelvic width. So again, for wide receivers or cornerbacks or whatever in the NFL, the greater their shoulder width to their pelvic width, the greater their rotation and turning capacity. And the really elite guys will have a ratio of sort of 1.5 ballpark, 1.6, 1.7 even. Whereas an offensive lineman looks like a telephone booth, right? He's about a 1.1, but that's what we want, right? Because you don't have to rotate very much. He's just got to, do certain things. So the further you get from the offensive line, the greater that ratio should be.
Yeah, okay.
Effectively. So, and then we've got another thing called the proximorphy index. So we look at one of the biggest determinants in elite sprinters is gluteal width, fundamentally, right? So we can look at, and we've just come up with this measure over looking at like about 15,000 data sets, but we look at the thickness of their glutes or the circumference of their glutes and their glute mass to their quadricep hamstring mass, and you can determine sprint characteristics and sprinting capabilities.
No way.
Yeah, man. Yep. It's pretty cool.
So, mate, is the future of this teams looking at that from keeping their roster on the field and getting best bang for their back?
100%.
Or is it young athletes coming through saying, hey, I've still got this ability, grab me?
So it's a couple of things. It's one from a like a recruitment perspective, from a developmental perspective. So in those leagues, they're big multi-million-dollar decisions.
There's a lot of money sitting on a bench come the wrong decision,
Right. So, and that's where, when you're making a decision, for example, hypothetically, a team might be looking at 2 players in the draft and they're going, well, who are we going to take in the first round?
Yep.
Like this guy's he's already at his physical ceiling, right? I can't do anything with that. Is he who we want, or do we want this other guy who's got the capacity to put on 10 kilos of muscle mass?
Yep.
Who do we pay? And so there's that piece, there's the developmental piece, and then there's the question for established players where a coach goes, you know what, he's an elite footballer, but can he carry 3 more kilos of muscle?
Yeah,
and we can answer that question now precisely.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and now we are also at a point where we can determine where that muscle can go. Like it can go on your quad, but not your hammy, or it can go on your.
No way.
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's elite, and so that's Horyzen Performance, and we're
How do people get onto Horyzen Performance?
So the website just dropped, so it's horyzenperformance.com, one word, HORYZEN performance.com. Yeah. So I'll eventually bring that to Australia and other states around the world. At the moment, we're only doing it in North America. Yeah, it's pretty cool, and it does, and like the thing and it is predetermined based on your skeleton.
Is that right?
Yeah. And there's.
So what age can you establish this type of? So you can go 6-year-old, you need to be a swimmer versus a NFL player, or so you can actually help pathway as well.
Yeah. And we can probably real close to telling you how tall they're going to be and what their muscle mass distribution is going to be naturally.
Stop it.
Yeah. The thing that throws it out is the bodybuilding world, the elite bodybuilding world, in terms of performance enhancers, that throws it out, right? Because you can,
You're talking drug tested sports.
I'm talking drug tested sports.
Like the application, yeah.
And so, for example, so in doesn't matter whether it's hockey, baseball, football, whatever it is, we can identify based on their muscle bone ratio, their shoulder hip ratio, and there's a correlation I'm looking at the moment, which I think's got merit, is the size of their foot to the length of their tibia to the length of their femur. So there's some correlations there around hamstring injury and ACLs that I'm working on, because the number one determinant of ACL injury is body mass, right? So that's a direct correlation. So the greater your body mass, depending on your intercondylar notch, a couple other things, it determines your risk factor around whether or not you'll do your ACL. So it's pretty interesting. Yeah.
Well, mate, let's finish this one up. Thanks for coming on.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you.